What is success?
This is going to sound contrary to what a lot of things that I said, because I'm speaking very confident on this season. I do believe Florida State has everything it takes to be a playoff contender. I believe they have everything it takes to win the ACC, but I also know games have to be played. If Florida State doesn't win, if Florida's successful season is 10 wins, and I was on USC up, not US, SC Upstate, CBS Upstate in the Carolinas, and I was talking about what Bobby used to have for us. So we used to have a chart, and you could walk in. I think they have something similar like that in the locker room, but it's basically what your goals for the season are. So obviously your first goal is you want to be, if you check these boxes on the way up, you're more than likely get the ones at the top. But these are the ones that you at least want to minimally get. So obviously win 6 games. You got to win 6 games. You got to be bowl. That's how you bowl eligible. Win 8 games. Beat your rivals. Win conference. Or playing conference championship. Win conference. Make the playoffs. Win a national championship. Everything that they're doing is with the top goal to play in the national championship. But if Florida State wins 10 games, when you consider what Florida State's been in the last 7 years, like that's a step. And now that should be the standard. The minimum is to win 10 games to be in championship discussions. The way I used to cover the Jaguars is I would say it like this. Stop worrying about, like, the goal is to have meaningful games in November. Meaning, I don't want to talk about the draft before Thanksgiving. Like, if I could just play, that means we're good. After you play meaningful games in November, if we're playing meaningful games in December, that means we haven't stopped talking about the playoffs yet. We have a chance. And then you move on from there. So if we're talking about FSU potentially to start the month of November off, talking about the outside of winning ACC, playing ACC championship, making college football playoff, that's how you win 10 games. And that means you're on the right path. And that's helping recruiting, and that's helping build a foundation for you to win forever.
Yeah, a successful season for Florida State is 10 wins in the regular season. That would be 10 wins without a bowl win. So, yes, the regular season, losing to 10 regular season wins is definitely a successful season for Florida State. That would still be an improvement based off of what you did last year. Yeah, you ended up with 10 wins, but it took a bowl game to get the 10th. So if you get 10 wins in the regular season, you've definitely progressed in this season. But I'll put it this way. I wish this year was the year they implemented the 12-team playoff. Because at worst case scenario, I see Florida State being that 10-2. I think that, I don't want to say worst case scenario because if something happens to Jordan or whatever, things could go wrong. But what I mean is Florida State's expectations are definitely the 10 wins for sure. Me and James both have Florida State going 11-1 in the regular season right now. And everybody's like, well, how can your ceiling and floor be so close? Because the expectations are almost perfection. So when your expectations are almost perfection, then your floor, because of what you have caliber-wise on the team, you shouldn't lose more than this based off of strength of schedule. And based off of our strength of schedule, our 2 most doomed possible games are in the first month of the season, which therefore with LSU in the first game of the season, Clemson in the 4th game of the season. The only issue that you have is that you're playing Clemson at Clemson. If we were not playing in Clemson, I wouldn't even be as worried about that game. But it's extremely hard to go into Clemson, South Carolina, and beat them. I don't know. It was 30 some odd games in a row that they had not lost at home. They do play extremely well at home. They're a very good team, but the biggest question that's been around Florida State this entire offseason is LSU going to be that much better than us? Is LSU going to make us look ridiculous? And I don't see it. I don't see it anywhere. I think Florida State, honestly, has a better chance at beating LSU than Clemson this year. And the reason that I say that is because they're coming to Orlando, Florida It's the first game of the season. Florida State has guys that have been playing together for 3, 4, some of them 5 years. Yeah, because we got 2 or 3 guys that have been there. This will be their 5th because of COVID year. These guys have been playing together for a while. They've been on the same coaching staff. There's now consistency on the staff. Everybody knows the playbook. Everybody knows their role in this game. And LSU, while being a very talented roster and having a really good head coach in Brian Kelly for sure, but those guys haven't played together as long as the Florida State guys. But, they added X amount of players from the portal. So did Florida State. Like, they went back and forth, hand in hand. It was almost like we were in a competition as far as what we were getting out of the portal. You'd hear LSU lands this guy, well, Florida State lands this guy. Florida State lands this guy, well, LSU landed this one. And it went back and forth. But me personally, I don't think LSU has enough depth in the corner and safety area to be able to keep up with Florida State based on the size that we have at wide receiver. So that's the reason why I give us better odds of beating LSU than Clemson, just based on Dabo knows how to beat us, and we're going to their house, and they got 3 games to get ready for us before we play them. LSU don't have that luxury of 3 games getting ready for us, and we don't have the luxury for 3 games getting ready for them either. But I think Florida State can say that they're the more experienced team going into that game. That's why I give them the edge to beat LSU in the very first game of the season. And yes, everyone's worried about LSU's D-line. It's technically the same D-line that we played last year. Perkins did play in the game. I don't know why people say that he didn't. Did he play every snap or a lot of snaps? No, but he did play in the game. The most impressive stat to me in that game is that Florida State did not allow 1 sack in the entire game. None. Jordan was never sacked the entire game. And that's, to me, very impressive with what defensive line and linebackers that LSU acquires. I think that's amazing. I think people are going to be very surprised at what Florida State does to beat LSU. I personally think it'll be the talk of the week if it goes the way it's supposed to.